Jollyville Radio, the podcast that won't sell your data because we don't know how. I'm KJVR Chief Meteorologist Kimberly Sprout, and we thank you for listening. Coming up on the program today, we have a special presentation of the sports show Turkeys and Icing with Carey Gardiner and Rory Barker. They'll be covering the local high school cross-country match between the Jollyville Fire Oaks and the Malakoff Rubber Ducks. We'll get started after a word from our sponsors.
Chip McCluskey here of McCluskey's Military Surplus. We've got all kinds of good stuff down here, including MREs. That's right, meals ready to eat. Just use boiling water and bam, you got a hot meal. We can also help you deal with the side effects of eating 3 shelf-stable meals per day like I do. We now carry Bubble Buster Gut Cleansing Powder. Just mix some of this in water and reduce your flatulence by up to 54%. This stuff is so good it hasn't even been approved by the FDA. McCluskey's Military Surplus, we'll be waiting.
Hello, listeners. Do you need help coping with the end of times? Kitties to Cuddle now offers immediate cat delivery. Renting a cat has never been easier. Just call 1-800-MEOW-ME-NOWY. That's right, listeners. 1-800-MEOW-ME-NOWY. Jollyville Radio listeners get a 10% discount with the offer code JOLLY. Kitties to Cuddle. Y'all call now. Meow, meow, meow.
Jollyville Radio sends a shout out to Traverse City, Michigan. Population 15.
Traverse.
Jollyville Radio sends a shout out to Traverse City, Michigan. Population 15,570. How y'all doing? Did I get it?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm Carey Gardiner.
And I'm Rory Barker.
And this is a special edition of KJVR Jollyville Radio, bringing you the latest in all things sports.
We're reporting to you live from the Jollyville High School cross-country meet.
But doesn't cross country normally happen in the fall?
Well, these kids are runners. They run for miles for fun. Do you think they care it's late winter?
Well, you got me on that one. That's why I stick to shuffleboard.
With us, we have Coach Charles to tell us more about the match. Coach Charles, can you give us the lowdown on this meet?
This meet is particularly intense, as the Jollyville Fire Oaks are up against our rivals, the Malakoff Rubber Ducks. Every year they nab the winning spot, but we're on a winning streak this season, so this just might be our year. But it will be tough since our All-State Elsie Packer is out with a strained ACL.
Ooh, that's a tough loss for the team.
They're lining up, pistol at the ready.
And they're off.
Wow, what a great start. Things are starting to heat up as, wait, they just ran straight into the woods. Is this how this works?
Well, yes, according to my notes, they run 3.1 miles around the woods and then they come back here.
And so what are we supposed to do in the meantime?
Not sure.
Are you familiar with mindfulness meditation?
Seriously?
Hey, look at that kid over there picking weeds.
The tenacity in which little Johnny is pulling them out, only to throw them aside. The callousness, the ferocity.
We interrupt your regular broadcast to bring you this special news report. We have been receiving reports that there has been an explosion of incandescent gas and chemicals occurring on the northern outskirts of Malakoff, just across the lake from Jollyville, moving south towards downtown Malakoff at brisk speed. The gas and chemical combination is still unknown, but may pose a risk to those exposed to it. Residents, please be advised to avoid the northbound lanes of Jollykoff Highway. Stay with us for the latest in this unfolding incident.
Wow, that sounds serious.
In fact, Frankie is telling me we have an Officer Stevens of Malakoff PD on the line. Officer Stevens, what can you tell us?
Thank you, Kimberly. Now, the explosion seems to be coming from the Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory. We don't yet know the source or cause of the explosion, but residents are advised to avoid the area until further notice.
Thank you, Officer Stevens. We appreciate the update.
Anytime.
This concludes our special report. We now bring you back to your regular programming.
Wow, a very concerning update indeed. For those of you just tuning in, we are covering the Jollyville High School cross-country meet.
How long do these meets take? It's been almost 12 minutes and they're still in the woods.
Well, it has been rumored that Malakoff's new freshman member, Bohemian Precious, can clock in his race at just under 15 minutes. So, anytime now, I guess.
Bless these parents for coming out here to support their kids.
Hey, look at little Johnny. He's moved on from the weeds and appears to be trying to melt an ant with a magnifying glass.
Sheer determination on the face of little Johnny, but that ant appears to be a lofty competitor. Based on Johnny's quick hops, it seems the ant isn't going down with a fight and attempting to make a run for it.
You got that right. Little Johnny.
We apologize about the second interruption, but we're following up on the report from moments ago. We have updates from Chauncey Applegate, who's on the ground in Malakoff. Chauncey, what are you seeing?
Yes, Kimberly. I've just arrived in Malakoff. All press is being kept at a safe distance from the factory, about 200 yards or so. We're being told that the Bubble Bath Factory is about to hold a press conference explaining the matter. I should have more soon.
Thanks, Chauncey. We look forward to hearing more.
Actually, wait. It appears that the Vice President of Safety and Compliance, Myron Pearson, is now here. We turn it over to him.
The Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory is aware of the explosion that occurred around 15 minutes ago. To our current knowledge, no one has been injured and the cause is still unknown. Out of an abundance of caution, both the Malakoff and Jollyville fire departments have been dispatched and will be arriving soon to treat the aftermath. We here at the Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory stress that this incident is uncharacteristic and all measures will be taken to ensure that this will never happen again. I am able to take a question or two.
Quick question, Mr. Pearson. Mr. Pearson,
please,
over here.
Mr. Pearson,
Mr. Pearson, would you care to comment for
Mr.
KJVR?
Yes, Mr. Applegate.
This is Chauncey Applegate of KJVR, Jollyville Radio. Since we don't know the extent of the damage, what advice do you have to those who live in the surrounding area?
Well, since we are not yet able to identify the chemical composition, all those who live in the immediate surrounding area are advised to stay indoors with their windows closed and air conditioning on. I'm sorry, I can take no further questions.
Mr. Pearson.
Mr. Pearson, quick question, Mr. Pearson. Mr. Pearson, over here.
Mr.
Pearson.
That was Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory's Vice President for Safety and Compliance, telling everyone in the surrounding area to stay inside with the AC on. Kimberly, I'm going to head to my car and report from there.
Thank you, Chauncey. Be safe and do what you have to do. Carey and Rory, back to you.
Wow, I'm worried about all these kids out here in the outdoors.
Me too. Listeners, we have an update on the race. They ran through for just a moment, but then immediately went back into the woods for their next lap.
But we couldn't see who was who because their faces were covered in bubbles.
We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Elegant, curvaceous, topped, announcing the all-new line of luxury violas by the designer Robert Cheerful.
Chip McCluskey here of McCluskey's Military Surplus. You already know we have all the best gas masks and respirators in town. But you know what else we have? Bubble-popping weapons. I'd like to stress that I had absolutely nothing to do with the bubble bath thing. I'm just an opportunistic military surplus salesman. McCluskey's Military Surplus. Come on down before the bubble apocalypse takes over.
Just read it like this? Okay. This is Officer Stevens, and you're listening to Jollyville Radio, KJVR.
And we're back.
But unfortunately, the runners are not.
Don't forget, the beauty of cross country is patience and persistence.
Sure sounds a lot like you're telling me to be patient, Coach.
This is Carey Gardiner and Rory Barker giving you live coverage of the Jollyville High School cross country meet and young people.
No, more news?
Not again.
This is Chauncey Applegate, live at the scene of the Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory explosion. It appears that the fire department has arrived. I'm not sure what I'm hearing, but I think they're singing. Let me get closer.
In Jollyville, where I was born, heave away, haul away. Fireman's son with a fire truck haul. We'll fight the fire right down. Haul away your fire hose. Heave away, haul away. Haul away, you'll hear me sing. We'll fight the fire right down. We sweat and toil and wrangle fire. Heave away, haul away. Bubbles when the need gets done. We'll fight the fire right down. Haul away your fire hose. Heave away, haul away. Haul away, you'll hear me sing. We'll fight the fire right down.
I'm here with the fire chief and can't wait to ask some questions. Mr. Chief, your team is obviously responding to this horrific accident, but what's with the sea shanty?
This is Fire Chief Gil Cordova. Thank you for noticing. While our crew loves to protect our community, they also have a strong appreciation for the whaling trade. Working with water gets us inspired. I think you need to heed Mr. Pearson's advice and get inside, Chauncey. Our team can handle it from here.
Haul away your fire hose, heave away, haul away. Haul away, you'll hear me sing. We'll fight the fire right down.
Thanks. Since I'm heading into my car, I'm going to turn it over to Julia Stonewash.
Roger that, Applegate. This is Julia Stonewash in the Jollyville Fantastic Traffic Chopper. I'm circling the factory and the damages start. Well, at least I think so. There are bubbles everywhere and they're moving. Fast.
Julia, what are you seeing out there?
The bubbles are coming through a hole in the roof on the far right corner of the building. They appear to be coming out in a steady pulsing manner. I've never seen anything like it. It's purple and blue. I thought the bubbles were normally pink.
Julia, I'm getting confirmation on that.
Oh, I love bubble baths. Yes, it's normally pink.
Yes, Julia, the color of the bubble bath is pink. How are the firefighters doing?
They're using multiple hoses and now there's some steam, but it only seems to be making the bubbles bigger.
Chauncey, any updates?
I have the fire chief again. What's happening?
Yes, well, our crew is using multiple hoses, but it appears these bubbles only get larger. It's taking us 10 times as long to cut through this. I'm not sure when our crew will be able to safely enter the factory. The situation looks grim, Chauncey. I don't like it. I have to go.
Wait, something's happening. Julia, can you see what it is?
Yes, I can see a small two-seater airplane, the kind they use for farming, and it's headed for the factory. Hello, airplane. Identify yourself. Do you copy?
Jensen Mutton reporting for duty in the family crop duster. I'm coming in hot with the bubble buster powder I got at McCluskey's. Ski!
Wow, the bubbles are starting to recede. I'm still right above the roof, and it appears that the fire crew is in, but there isn't any fire or really even any damage, just bubbles. They've turned off the hoses. They're leaving? What is happening?
Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Chauncey, any ideas?
Actually, I'm being summoned out of my car. Hold on. I'm getting word that there will be another press conference, this time from the Vice President of Public Relations. Give me a minute to get closer.
I can confirm that a team of people, I'm assuming Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory people, are leaving the building and quickly assembling a podium.
Okay, I'm here at the makeshift press conference. let me turn it over to Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory's Vice President of Public Relations, Mac Brighton.
Thank you, everyone. I am Mac Brighton, Vice President of Public Relations here at Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory. We would like to set the record straight. At 11:05 this morning, an explosion did occur in our processing portion of the plant. There were no injuries and no immediate threat to the surrounding communities. The bubbles came from our new Bubble Frenzy line, a purple bubble bath potion where the bubbles last 10 times longer than your average bubble mix. However, the explosion went as planned. We thank our fire department for their heroic response, but it was unnecessary and in fact quite unfortunate. The bubbles were supposed to reveal a stage for pop superstar Megan Jessica Starcrush, who is now soaking wet from the fire hoses and refusing to perform. We apologize for any confusion this event may have caused.
Mr. Brighton, Mac, you mean to tell us this was all a marketing stunt?
We prefer the term immersive brand experience.
Julia, can you get another look at the hole?
Yes, we're getting lower in. You've got to be kidding me. It's not a hole, it's a retractable roof. I'm headed back. Let's go.
Mac, we just got confirmation that the hole was also fake. What do you have to say for yourself? You put reporters in danger. That's just unconscionable.
And we thank you. Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory's new Bubble Frenzy Potion will be available in stores next month. For all your efforts in getting the word out to our residents, we'll be providing you all vouchers for a free 10-ounce bottle.
Mr. Brighton, please explain yourself.
I want to know right now. Carey Gardiner here. Listeners, we want to leave this press conference on the explosion of the Malakoff Bubble Bath Factory. The explosion was a stunt that caused us to miss the finish of the cross-country meet.
And it appears that Malakoff won that race with freshman Bohemian Precious clocking in at a regional PR of 14:47, as if we needed another reason to further the rivalry. For KJVR Jollyville Radio, thank you for listening.
This is Lennon from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and you're listening to Jollyville Radio on KJVR.
And now, the winners of Jollyville Bingo for the week of March 10th, 2021. Spencer Callahan in Cleveland, Ohio, Basil Kay in Austin, Texas, James Branker in New York City, and Ellie Gardiner in Austin, Texas. To play bingo with us, go to jollyvilleproductions.com/bingo.
On air in Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my. This is Jollyville Community Beat with UncleASAR, turning the spotlight on good people doing great work in the real world. Let's take a road trip, people. Well, we have to take a flight or flights for this one. Joining us in the Purple Street studio, Intergalactic Satellite, which is really just a Zoom call, all the way from Newtown, Wellington, New Zealand, we have Lennon, Conservation Manager at the Wellington Zoo, caring for animals since 1906. Lennon, can you hear me all the way from New Zealand? Welcome to Community Beat.
Kia ora. Good to be here.
Great. Okay, so I thought a zoo was just a place that you take the school children on a field trip, walk around, look at the animals. I didn't know zoos were involved in conservation. I don't get out much even before COVID, so that's my excuse. So, Ox, define for us conservation in general, and then tell us about the on-site conservation programs at the Wellington Zoo.
Okay, well, conservation in general, I would say is about preserving biodiversity. So that could be protecting species that are endangered. It could be protecting habitats that species live in. It could be restoring things that have been damaged, and could be spreading awareness to try and help with that, protecting biodiversity. So there's some people-focused stuff, there's some biological-focused stuff. And then at the zoo, the sort of conservation activities that we do are, we have some animals that have been rescued from the wild where they were injured, or they'd been poached from the wild, and then we rescued them from poaching, that we then keep at the zoo for advocacy purposes. So we have some little blue penguins, which is a local species that lives in Wellington, and we have, I don't remember exactly the number of them, but we have like a small number, like maybe 8, that were injured by various things like dogs or fishing equipment and that kind of thing. And we have them living here at the zoo, and they're sort of an advocacy species, so people can come and look at them and see a little blue penguin up close, which is really neat because it's a species that lives in our city, and they can learn how to look after them, like keeping their dog on a lead or tidying up their fishing equipment if they go fishing.
So for the injured animals, you have an on-site hospital. I mean, do you have doctors and nurses, little gurneys for the injured animals? What's going on?
Yeah, we do have gurneys, and we've got vets and vet techs. And so we get in the hundreds of injured animals every year. I can't remember the exact number. You could probably find that out in our like annual reports. But we get them brought in by members of the public a lot of the time, especially native species, and we look after them, we assess them, the vets do anyway, not me, but they nurse them back to health if they can and release them back to the wild. Or sometimes if it's something like a little blue penguin, we might keep it at the zoo if it can't be released back to the wild.
So the Wellington Zoo doesn't just work locally. You also have some international partners. What other countries do you collaborate with?
Heaps, actually. So we've got a partner in Vietnam. We've got some in Colombia. So that's like in Colombia, it's a partnership with Proyecto Titi, who protect the cotton-top tamarins. In Vietnam, there's an organization called Fauna and Flora International, who protect the white-cheeked gibbon and the critically endangered saola, which is like a sort of deer species, which is really rare. I couldn't name them all off the top of my head. Heaps of them. There's some that are based in England that deal in Asia. There's lots of them. There's Traffic, which is a totally international organization, which they try to stop trafficking of endangered species. So we give money to them every time we bring a species to the zoo. We give money to Traffic to try and stop species moving across borders that shouldn't be. There's heaps of them.
So is trafficking rare animals a huge problem in the world?
It is for some species. So for some species, it's actually like one of the number one threats to them. Depends on the species though. So one that comes to my mind for trafficking is pangolins. Their poaching is a really big problem for them, and trafficking them either to just to kill them or to take them elsewhere to be an exotic species. That's really huge for them, and they're some of them are quite endangered. In New Zealand, we have a lot of native lizards. We have 100 species of native lizard, or over 100, and mainly their threats are habitat destruction and predators, but they're also vulnerable to being taken overseas in trafficking. There's been some incidences of them being intercepted at the border. There was one instance where someone had some in his underpants, and he was getting on a plane with these lizards in his underpants, and he was caught. So we really want to stop that trafficking because, well, in New Zealand, because we're so isolated, it's much easier to intercept people at the border. But in a country like the USA, you've got those big land borders, so trafficking can be a lot more underground.
Ox, give us the Wellington Zoo's web address.
www.wellingtonzoo.com.
Ox Lennon, thank you for talking with us, and we wish you the best of the best.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
This has been Jollyville Community Beat with UncleASAR, and dig this. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Peace. Ox, you're a star.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. That was really exciting. This is our first time doing anything international. So,
Cool.
Well, in Hawaii, but that's U.S.
it's not
but
international.
it's close to the international date line.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
Stay with you guys when I come to Texas.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because we're gonna take you out and parade you around like an endangered species. This is from New Zealand. Oh, you're at the zoo now.
Yeah. I'm at the zoo now. Like we're fully not locked down. Like I'm in my office, but I'll show you outside.
Oh snap! We're going to the zoo, Michael.
I can show you the otters if you want. If I don't drop off. They're the closest animal to me. Do you want to see them?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
If you got the time.
I might drop off the Wi-Fi. I'll see though.
Okay.
Okay. I live in this little house on the zoo. Now I'm outside. The otters are one of the cutest animals, but they're not always out.
What is it?
An otter? Cool. You know, like little mammal that lives in the water.
Yeah, like a beaver, cousin to the beaver.
Yeah, I don't know how close you relate to these guys. Here's the habitat, but I can't see them. They might be sleeping.
This is so cool.
We're in New Zealand. Oh, did it freeze?
I think we lost.
Sorry.
Hey.
Wi-Fi does not stretch that far.
No worries. Don't worry.
At the Wellington Zoo.
You'll see some trees and stuff. A few sparrows, that's all.
Ox, thank you so much for your time. This has been great.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Of course.
Always fun to talk to someone overseas.
Absolutely. Cool.
I will.
You guys be safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks, Ox.
Bye-bye.
The cast and creative team behind Jollyville Radio includes UncleASAR Al-Kabelon, Emily Ansonik, Justin Carter, Michael Crosa, Michelle Darcy, Richard Dayries, Brian Green, Alan Kay, Pilar Keperda, Robert Leary, Thomas Schlitt, Michael Stanley, Matt Waite, and K. Wise Denti. Lead editing by Dr. Montse Santillan, with social media help by Emily Ansonik. Directed by Michael Crosa. The recording was made in accordance with social distancing. Special appearance by Bob Don of the Bob Short Story Hour and Hidden Oaks podcast. Ride of the Valkyries performed on trombone by our very own Brian Green. If you're enjoying Jollyville Radio, consider supporting us on Patreon. For a small monthly pledge, you can have a big impact on the success of the show. Plus, depending on your pledge, you can get bonuses like access to the script archives, letters from characters, and even a chance to hear your own voice on the show. Just go to patreon.com and search for Jollyville Radio. Jollyville Radio is a production of Jollyville Brass Quintet, member of Austin Creative Alliance. We are based in Austin, Texas. For KJVR in Jollyville, I'm Jimmy Piecrust. We'll see you next time on Jollyville Radio.